Hi and welcome. I'm Eileen Drolette, the Workforce Development Coordinator with the Boulder Chamber, and today the Boulder Chamber and Workforce Boulder County have teamed up to bring you the Pathways to Success Career Exploration Series. The goal of this series is to give high schoolers and young adults a greater perspective on what it's like to be a working professional in Colorado's top industries. So first up, I'm going to start off with a few introductions of our panelists. On today's tree care industry panel, first up we have Julie Franks. Julie is an ISA certified arborist and serves as the plant healthcare manager at Altitude Arborist, where she delivers comprehensive plant healthcare services, which include targeted nutrient supplementation, proactive disease management and prevention, and insect control, applying a multifaceted approach to enhance tree vitality and minimize impact on native fauna. In this role, she's committed to providing expert care to ensure healthy and thriving trees in Colorado. Next up, Mike Earl is an ISA certified arborist and co-founder and CEO of Old Growth Tree Service. Over the years, Mike has built a reputation for excellence in tree care, combining technical expertise with a commitment to client relationships and workforce development. Mike is also a member of numerous peer industry groups, and in 2023 was recognized as the ISA Rocky Mountain Chapter Arborist of the Year. He also serves on the leadership team of the Colorado Tree Care Sector Partnership, which is working to expand avenues of apprenticeship throughout the tree care industry. And finally, we have Kelly Gouge, who is an ISA certified arborist with 20 years of experience in the arboriculture industry, specializing in pruning, plant health care, lawn care, and pest management. He currently serves as the district manager at SavATree, overseeing operations across the Front Range of Colorado and Montana. Throughout his career, Kelly has been dedicated to industry advocacy, earning recognition as Person of the Year from the Rocky Mountain Turfgrass Association, Greenco, and ALCC. He also serves on the leadership team of the Colorado Tree Care Sector Partnership, working to strengthen the workforce pipeline for arborists in Colorado. So thanks to everyone for being here today. I'm excited to dive right in. And without further ado, I'm going to give the panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves as well. So first up, please tell us about yourself and your background leading up to the work you're doing now. And Mike, I'll let you go first.
Thank you very much, Eileen. A little bit about myself. I didn't grow up thinking I'd run a tree service company. This is actually my fourth career. I grew up understanding what it meant to work hard, to solve problems with my hands, and to take responsibility for more than just myself. I entered the tree care industry after a career in grocery, ski area operations, horticulture, and then back into forestry, what I studied in college. Before launching Old Growth, I wore hats like learner, worker, husband, and eventually the entrepreneur. But all that led me here, not just as a company, but to build a culture of value stewardship, leadership, and a long-term legacy.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Julie, I'll have you go next.
I'm Julie. I am actually originally from the East Coast. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and that's where I started my my career here in the tree care industry. I went to school to be a biology major, and I thought I really had it all together until I graduated and could go in any direction with that major pretty much. So once I was working at a country club, had no experience in the field really besides my degree. And then once COVID hit, the country club pretty much shut down. So I was looking for jobs on Indeed, and I found a plant healthcare specialist position, which intrigued me. So I applied and got the job and absolutely loved it. And I didn't even know this world existed really, just because of where I had worked before. I originally thought that I wanted to go into a lab position, which I did not want to do after college. So then, like being a plant healthcare specialist, I eventually became a sales arborist for a different company. And then we moved out here about a year and a half ago. And I was working in the field for another company doing mostly on-hands plant healthcare treatments and things like that. And then I got the position here at Altitude to be the plant healthcare manager. And now I do more managerial stuff and organization and less time in the field, which has been really nice.
Thanks, Julie. Kelly, you're up.
Yeah, Kelly Gouge. I did grow up here in Colorado, and I grew up here loving the outdoors, which is really why I think I am where I am today, and really just started with an interest in being outside and taking care of things outside. So I actually went to Colorado State University for a forestry degree. Thought I was going to be a timber person, which I was for a while. Got a degree in forestry. I worked for the U.S. Forest Service for a few years. I worked for the state of Texas as a forester for a few years. Yes, Texas has forests, and then ended up moving back to Colorado. Always had an interest in individual tree care, arboriculture, and so I began working for Swingle Tree Company back a number of years ago, and since then have partnered with SavATree and really have been doing it ever since. So really started in the field and doing plant health care treatments and those kinds of things, protecting from insects and diseases, and enjoy being a part of a large organization now. And so it's been a journey to get to where I am today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I think you all kind of briefly touched on this point, which is kind of what first sparked your interest in this career, but I'd love to kind of have you highlight that for any high schooler or young professional who might be interested in also in a career in tree services. So I'd love to hear from you all. What first sparked your passion? Was it a circuitous route to finding your way to where you are now? Or was it pretty clear from early on, this is what you want to do? And Julie, how about you go first?
So this was not anything that I had in mind for me to be doing, because I honestly didn't really know that this whole industry existed until I fell into it pretty much. But what sparked my interest once I was already in it was just how much you had to learn and all of the different insects and different tree species and how everything coexists, and certain things you want to treat and other things you can just kind of let some of the predatory insects take care of. And just the amount of learning I had to do when I first started was really intriguing to me, because something's always changing. It's different every single day. And that's what I really loved about it.
Awesome. Mike, how about you next?
For me, I started in arboriculture actually in high school. We had a state forestry team through the FFA, where we actually got to go and climb trees during class and did log rolling and axe throwing and all of these things. And, I really loved being outside. I didn't really care for the reading, writing, and arithmetic parts of college, of high school, I mean. And so then when I had the opportunity to go into a vocational career, into college, I thought I was going to be a forester. Shortly after I started studying forestry, realized that I could make good money working at the grocery store. And then that's when I started a 9-year career with the grocery business until I came full circle another 15 to 20 years later. I love being outside and I love solving real world problems. And that's what brought me to the arboriculture industry.
So for me, I mentioned it earlier, it was all sparked in enjoying being outdoors. And, you think about that, and whether that's camping or biking or hiking, just that enjoyment. And then you start figuring out how cool, like our ecosystems, like our just natural environment, you sort of fall in love with it. And so for me, trees are obviously a huge part of the native environment in Colorado, particularly in the mountains, not so much on the plains, where we like to plant trees. But that, for me, and then you started figuring out, through college that, trees are pretty spectacular things. There's a lot to them. And so fell in love with that. And, that's where it all began.
Beautiful. And that kind of leads into my next question, which is I'd love to hear from you all about the impact of your work. How do tree care services impact the community or the environment, maybe even in ways that most people wouldn't realize? And Kelly, I'll have you start us off this time.
Yeah. I think about the positive impact. So our environment, right? We all live in our environment. And I think that I know that trees have a huge positive impact on that, not only in their natural environment, but also in environments that we build. We actually, where we plant trees in urban settings, they have a huge positive impact, not only on the environment itself, but actually on us as a community. There's been lots of studies that having trees near you and available to you in terms of parks and parkways actually have health benefits. And so that for me is a really cool thing, to be able to have a positive impact on not only our environment, but our community and people in our neighborhoods.
And to segue on what Kelly said there, we protect what's living. That's simple. Most people think the tree care company is about going and cutting things down, but it's really about preserving the health, the safety, the beauty, and the sustainability of our communities. We're part of a long chain of caretakers, and we do our job well. You might not even notice the tree, and that's the point.
Yeah, and I feel like going off of what you guys are saying, even the little things that people don't even realize, like when you're looking for a house, most of the time, because I'm in the market right now, which is a whole nother thing, but I'm looking for a house that has big mature trees because one, they're going to provide shade. They're going to cool the house down in the summertime. And it's all those little things that you don't want to have to add extra money into paying your air conditioning bill and your heating costs and all that. And the trees will provide a lot of that shade for you. And it is a big help.
I really think too, for the employees, it's really a job that gives them dignity.
Yeah, being able to go back and see, like, I pruned that tree and look how great it's doing after this many years, or I treated that tree for this insect and it's still living and it still looks amazing. That's a really good feeling.
Awesome. Thank you all. Next, I kind of want to transition to get a little bit more granular into what a day in the life looks like for somebody in the tree services industry. So I'd love you all to walk through a day in your life and highlight, if you can, what's the most rewarding part of your day, what maybe is the more challenging part, and is there anything that might surprise people about what your job is really like? And Julie, I'll have you start off.
So kind of like I mentioned earlier, every day is different, and that's what is exciting because it's not the same kind of monotonous task every single day. Each job that you go to do for plant healthcare, it changes based on the season. Like you're not always going to be injecting bromoid ash borer because the trees don't always have leaves on them and you can't do the injections after the leaves fall off. Just going into work and kind of for me, I start the schedule, I organize the plant healthcare technician, make sure that he has everything that he needs for the day. And then if there's any like weird notes or things, you kind of go over them with him and say, you need to add extra for this tree, pay attention to this. Can you take a picture of this tree when you're done so that we can compare it to next year, just to see how the tree has reacted to the treatment. I have a lot of spreadsheets going through all of the organizational things of the behind the scenes, which is a little bit tedious, but it's also nice that I have the ability to go out in the field and do a treatment here or there. I can meet up and go work with the specialist for the day, train him on other treatments that he's not super familiar with, which is always fun. Because we've been doing a lot of iron injections specifically, and those are newer to him. So me going out and really getting my hands dirty and getting to see the trees and then being able to see how they turn out next year is always very exciting.
Very cool. And Kelly, how about you?
I'm going to answer this a couple of ways. I would say, so for me in my position, I'm a business manager, right? But trees are still in my heart and love what we do, but it really starts in the morning with our team. We get together, we talk about the day, we come up with a safety plan and talk about what the risks and the hazards might be today, whether that's wind or snow or, any of those types of things that could be hazardous. And then we all get to the field. We go out, we meet our clients on their property, which is really where we do our work. And as Julie said, every day is different because we're going out to different properties every single day. And for the field team, they're accomplishing the work that's they're set out to do, whether that's plant healthcare, doing insect and disease treatments and or climbing tree to prune and those kinds of things. And, the job well done at the end of the day is make sure that the client is satisfied and wrapping up and ending the day safely. For me as a business owner, as a manager, a lot of it is about coordinating people. And really what we do is bring trees and people together. That's what we do. And so, we are here for the trees, but really we're here for people. And so that's a little bit about my day. A lot of it is surrounding the people, but of course, we're all out there to do the work that it is we do, which is pruning and removal and planting and all those things. And so, we'll talk about this a little later, I think, in terms of all the avenues in the tree care industry or arboriculture industry. It's a pretty wide industry in terms of the types of things that you can do in our industry. And so we'll talk about that more in a few, I think.
I think for me, I share a lot of the same duties that Kelly does. You'd think of a guy who runs a tree service is in the field all day with chainsaws. And the truth is, I haven't touched a chainsaw in over 5 years. I haven't climbed a tree since I was 17. The truth is that most of my work involves leadership. It involves a vision, like being able to clearly communicate where we're going as a team, and then decision making in the now. So much of my day is spent making things clear for my team, my customers, and myself. I listen a lot. I ask a lot of questions, and I think always in the long term. Like I'm thinking 7, 8, 9 months in advance. And all I'm trying to do every day is make space for others to succeed. And what surprises people the most is probably how calm leadership can be when you've built trust in the systems and your coworkers at work. Kind of segues into my next thought about, what's rewarding about my job and what's the toughest part of my job. Really seeing someone else on my team grow into a role that they didn't think they were ready for, and then they go out and crush it. It's about leaders showing up in a space and clearly communicating to others a goal and letting those people run with it. And then from the standpoint of like, what's a really tough part of my job? It's like carrying the weight of the whole system. Like I feel like I'm carrying the weight of everybody. I'm carrying the weight of the client expectations. I'm carrying the weight of the employees, but still trying to show up at home fully. The balance between like a legacy a legacy at work, with the tree crew and everything. The balance is between like the presence at home and that tightrope walk between having that clear work-life balance. That's the toughest part of my job.
Great insight. Thanks, Mike. So next, I kind of want to transition, like Kelly was saying, to kind of some advice for somebody interested. Maybe they're in high school, maybe they've had other jobs before and are thinking about a career switch and are looking towards tree care. I want to hear from you all what advice you'd give to somebody, either a young professional or a high schooler who is interested in a career in tree care, and starting kind of big picture. Maybe let's start off with what helped you get to where you are in your career. And Mike, I'll have you start us off.
Sorry if this is too philosophical, but it's really this simple. Showing up on time, being coachable, and learning the basics. Taking pride in doing something physical and always being curious. Having really clear communication with your teammates, with your bosses, with your mentors. Willingness to do the work even when no one's watching. Like I just love to work hard, regardless of who's around me. I've always surrounded myself with people who are better than me. That's my secret sauce. I know how to create great teams. Making sure that when I'm doing something, that I'm learning in a way that I can create repeatability and clarity. Like I want it to be the same way every time so that I know how to be more efficient the next time that I do it. And then lastly, being humble enough to delegate and strong enough to lead. Like I really, really challenge people by delegating the items that are holding me back from allowing me to do the next best thing in my position.
Awesome. Thank you. Julie, how about you?
I think the biggest thing that you just said, Mike, was being trainable. Because if you are willing to work and you want to be in this industry and you want to learn, the opportunities are endless. Like you could pretty much go in any direction, as long as you want to put in that time and you are interested and you put in the safety efforts, you do all of the things that you're supposed to be doing, and you ask questions when you don't know what you're doing, because it's okay to not know something. You just want to learn more about it. I think the biggest thing for me coming into this industry is, yes, I had a biology background, but I didn't really know anything about the pests of trees when I came into this. And it was a lot of learning. And I had great mentors throughout that time that they were okay with me calling every property and saying, what is this? Should I be doing this treatment? Does this make sense? And kind of him explaining to me why we're doing this treatment and what it means and how it's going to affect everything else around it. And learning those things was huge for me. So coming into this industry, not having a background in it is okay, as long as you're willing to learn.
Yeah. I would echo a lot of what both Julie and Mike said. I think there's not a lot of precursors. It is being willing to learn and coming in and absorbing that. And I do think about a number of the things, and I had thought about this too, Mike. And you said it spot on. Is get in and surround yourself with great people. That actually is a really key part. I don't really care what career you pick. Surround yourself with great people in any career and in your home life, because it always makes you better. But I do think about, if you enjoy being outdoors, if you enjoy being faced with new challenges each and every day, and I say that from the standpoint of like every day you're going to a new home, a new property. And so no day is like the last, no week is like the prior, no month is like the prior, no year. Like there's always, the weather is a challenge, new insects come about, new techniques. Like it is, our industry has come a long ways from climbing on, like natural ropes. The climbing systems that we have now are very sophisticated, and it takes problem solving and thought. And so if you're a problem solver and you're a dependable person, it is a great place to be.
And from the standpoint of like the pathway into the industry, it's like you could start out as a grounds crew member where you're hauling debris to a chipper. You could start out working for a QS, which is a qualified supervisor, learning how to mix chemicals and learning how to apply fertilizers to the tree. You could grow into positions like a climber role, a crew leader. You could do estimating. You could manage an operation, and you could even launch your own company. The industry is so broad. They speak about some of the climbing clinics that we've gone to. They speak about people that just make careers climbing trees, picking pine cones, and taking the seeds and then propagating the seeds and growing trees and working in nurseries. And it's like, it's really, really, really endless. We right now are working with a drone to apply fertilizers and seed to large areas of properties. And while we get some people that take the path of wanting to become a pilot and get licensed by the FAA and be able to drive and fly these big 6-foot drones that carry 175 pounds, we still need somebody on the other side that does the math equations and learns how much fertilizer to put down and knows exactly how to mix the water and the soluble items. We also have programs and apps that we're building where we go out and we actually take pictures and put GIS locations on every tree inside of a community. And really all you need to know how to do is learn how to use the app, know how to use a camera, and then be able to determine what the tree species is. And you could easily have a position going out and inventory trees in throughout a community. And then somebody like Julie or Kelly or myself could then write a management plan that would be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road, all through technology and where the industry is going.
Okay, that was a great segue into kind of, you just mentioned all of the different options for entry points into this field. So I'd also love to hear from Kelly and Julie. Yeah, what are those different variety of pathways in this field? Kelly, I'll have you start us off.
Yeah, I think Mike mentioned many of them. There are people that make a career out of climbing trees, pruning them, and taking pride in, again, Mike said earlier, really what we do is we try to help trees to live. It's a pretty tough world. It's a pretty tough environment. There's lots of things in pests and weather and everything else that works against trees. And we're really in the business of trying to help them live. And so, climbing is one. I maybe let Julie talk a little bit about plant health care and kind of all the gamuts of that. I think about, even knowing the information and knowing the practicals of what we do. There are people in this industry that do nothing but sell. And I know that sales sometimes is a dirty word, but the reality is it's taking the customer's expectation and translating that into what is my crew going to do to your tree tomorrow so that we meet that expectation. And it takes money to do that. And you got to talk about budgets and you got to talk about what we're going to do. And so there's a sales career. And, Mike talked about a little bit about like tree inventory for neighborhoods and cities and those kinds of things, even private properties, that we take note of where they are geographically and the species and their condition rating and a plan for them for the future. And then I'm going to say one of the more technical, trees do have value. We can actually put monetary value to an individual tree. There's a really specific formula, takes a lot of expertise to be able to do that. But there is value in that. And so that, for instance, of a neighborhood, if they want to know how much are their trees worth, it's not that they could go sell them. But the reality is that it is important for them to know the value and it's an investment in their community. And so there is some really specific expertise around consulting in giving expert advice. Just as I think each of us has alluded to, trees are pretty fantastic and they're very complicated. They're living organisms and there's a lot to know about them. And so the science behind what we do is incredible. And so, every aspect of what we do to help them to grow, help transplant other trees where they weren't, naturally growing and those kinds of things. So those are the kinds of sort of pathways that I think about that are very commonplace in our industry.
Yeah, and just going off of what you said with plant healthcare, like there's hundreds of different types of treatments that you could be doing to each specific tree, essentially, for whatever insect or pest is attacking it. So going through and doing injections or just doing fertilizers, like you're mixing up a big tank of the same fertilizer that's going to multiple different properties, or you're targeting one specific pest on one specific tree. Just knowing exactly what you need to be doing and going through all that. And there's macro injections, and just also with all of these kind of aspects of which way you have to go, there's always someone who needs to be training these people. So getting really good at your craft and then being that person who can go to different offices if you're a bigger company and train other people so that, like Mike had mentioned, like everyone is doing the same thing and it is easily repeatable. And then also, Mike, you had mentioned a lot of people think of tree crews as just a guy with a chainsaw and they're just removing trees, but there's very specific types of pruning that you want to be doing. And if it's structure clearances, and my favorite thing, to be completely honest with you, is root collars, which people probably hate because you're on your hands and knees and you're digging in the dirt. But it's the simplest and easiest thing that you could be, and the best thing to do for a tree. Because if you have mulch that's volcanoed up on a root flare, you're essentially suffocating this tree out. So just doing all these little things, they can really, really help the impact of the tree.
Awesome. And one of the things I've been noticing, kind of you all mention when you're talking about what you're looking for when you're hiring somebody, you're talking a lot about soft skills, about being open and receptive and trainable. So I just want to make sure that's highlighted one more time, for anybody who's interested, like what is the importance of soft skills in this industry? And then on those technical sides, is that something that you typically kind of teach and train through on the job learning? And Julie, I'll have you go first.
Yeah, I think like we had mentioned, just having the ability to learn. And sometimes with certain people, it is difficult to teach that if they aren't willing to learn. They think that they kind of know what they want or what they're supposed to be doing, and they just kind of run with it. And being a good teacher and mentor is being able to kind of like reel them back in and say, this is how we want this done, and it's for these reasons. And just being able to coach them along. And if they have any concerns, they are comfortable coming to you with them. And if they don't want to do a certain treatment or something and it seems a little off, then they are okay coming to their superior and just being like, I think we need to look at this a different way, and then tackling that in that aspect.
Mike, how about you?
For me, what I think about when you ask the question about the skills and what it takes, we really go back to the thought that we are all industrial athletes, right? What does it mean to be accountable, to show up on time, to make sure that you have enough water to get you through the day, to make sure that you're getting enough rest at night, to make sure that you're stretching, that you're keeping each other safe. Like at the end of the day, we all have families that we want to go home to at the end of the day, right? We all want lives that we want to live away from work. And hopefully that's why we're choosing this career, is simply because we are working to live as full as possible. And some of that's at home and some of that's at work. And what I mean by that is we really go into the details to say, why is it important that you have good, sturdy shoes with great ankle support every day? Why is it important that we eat protein and good carbohydrates? And why is it really important to take 2 breaks a day and have a really thorough lunch? Like, those are all the things as a mentor that we're discussing to anybody that wants to join our team. It's really that simple.
Yeah. I think that for me, I would say if you jumped into this industry, generally people in this industry love what we do. And that actually is pretty contagious among teams because we enjoy what we do. And I think being open-minded and a constant lifelong learner, that all plays in really, really well. I think, as maybe all of us kind of mentioned, I don't think any of us knew this was a career. We've all sort of stumbled into it and go, hey, that looks like I could do that. And you jump in and you figure out, hey, that's kind of cool. And then it just is a journey, and then you go there. And so I think about, yes, some of us actually did go and get some higher education in terms of some of the scientific background, whether that's a biology or forestry, and some of that does help, but really that's just some of the foundation and maybe generated some interest. But a lot of the folks in this industry started knowing nothing about it, or even that it was an industry. You stumble upon it and then you find your place. So
Beautiful. And what have you found has been some of the biggest myths or misconceptions that you've seen from new people coming into this industry? And Julie, I'll have you start off.
I feel that's a hard one, but also kind of going back to what Mike said, people kind of think that we're just guys in trees with chainsaws, and there's a whole lot more to it than that. With all the science and the plant health care that goes into everyday treatments and life in this industry. yes, we need the chainsaws, but they are not the end all be all.
To echo what Julie was saying there, um, a lot of people could have this conception that this is just manual labor. There's no brains involved. And in reality, it takes strategy. It takes great communication. It takes science and decision making under pressure. We have to be able to know how to take action in decision making where we might be fearful of something. But with good training and good mentors, we know how to break across that line and take action when things are scaring us. Tree work isn't just dangerous, it's intelligent. Like, it's very, very, very intelligent. The best arborists are athletes, they're artists, they're scientists, and they're really good team captains.
The piece that I think about there is much of what we do is a practice. We talk about healthcare practices. You're actually working on living things, and that's what we're doing. And so it is an art and a science, and all of the above, and the decision making that Mike was just saying. I think the misconception often is that landscape is a step towards something different, right? Which is, it might be a place where I'm just going to do this for a couple of years. And oftentimes, actually, if you find it and realize that you can actually make a great career out of it, a great life out of it, and love what you do, then, people stick around.
Beautiful. Thanks everybody for your insight. I did want to transition a little bit, and I think Mike kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, on where the industry is headed, because it sounds like there is a lot of technical advancements and kind of those different entry points or pathways into this field that are expanding to incorporate technology. So, Mike, how about you start us off?
It's ever evolving. Automation, AI, data-driven diagnostics. But more than that, the skills that matter the most are leadership skills. Leadership skills are something that AI will never be able to replace. As the skilled labor gap grows, those who can train others, build trust, model emotional intelligence will lead the future. Good communicators, great problem solvers, and adaptability become more important than ever. If you can do those things well, if you can communicate well, if you're linguistic, you can solve problems, you love puzzles, and you're adaptable, that's where this industry is going. And then lastly, stewardship. Caring for the urban forests will be more urgent as climate change continues to accelerate.
The technology that I think about, you probably know, chainsaws are dangerous, right? They can be. They come with risk. And so a lot of the technology is actually working to make our environment safer, from less injuries and those types of things. So the movement from like gasoline powered chainsaws to electric powered chainsaws. Interesting. It's more than about using a battery versus gasoline. It's interesting because chains on electric chainsaws almost instantaneously stop versus a gasoline powered chainsaw. And so they actually are safer in my mind for the work that we do. And so a lot of the technology is around making our job safer as well, and helping us apply the right things and helping us with our knowledge base to be able to manage it better in the future. And so that's really how kind of we're harnessing technology in our business.
Yeah, from the
to segue on what.
Oh, go ahead,
Julie. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say too, with what Kelly was saying, like with going from gas to electric, like it's the repetitive injuries, it's the hearing injuries. Like, we're trying to keep people safer, and pulling on a pull cord all day long it's not what you need to be doing as an athlete, right? And those electric chainsaws and where they're going. And then, you know, I envision this, and like when we work in really tight confined areas and really small neighborhoods, you know, running electric saws and not running chippers and being out there and being quiet as people are inside living their lives. Like it's a whole different world where we're heading to where we've been in the last 5 to 10 years.
I was going to say about the healthcare portion of things, it's ever changing with the new products are coming on the market. Some products are leaving. This doesn't work as well as this does. This is more environmentally friendly than something we've done in the past. The biggest things I feel like are a lot of places are heading more towards injections than doing sprays, because you're getting drift everywhere. Whereas if you're injecting straight into the trunk of the tree, you are completely eliminating all of those extra variables. But they're always testing new things, and there's even new laws that are coming out, and it's an ever-changing world.
Beautiful. So I think we have one final question, and I think all of you have been really hammering kind of the point home with mentorship. But I'm going to give you all kind of a last chance to really describe the importance of mentorship, either, you know, going back to the start of your career as a mentee or now as a mentor. And maybe talk a little bit about, again, like what you're looking for in somebody you're hiring, and I know you've touched on safety as well, the importance of communication and leadership. So maybe take it all home for us. And Kelly, would you like to start us off?
I think about that. I've had, it's for as simple as that is that someone that believed in me and encouraged me in whatever I was doing at the time. I mean, I can think about professors who were mentoring to me. I can think about first bosses who were mentoring to me. I can think about peers that mentored me. They're really just willing to share what they knew, really unselfishly. And I think Mike and I both talked earlier about surrounding yourself with great people. Part of that is people beside you. Part of that's people who you work for. Part of that's people that might work for you or work with you. And so for me, that is, has been a really great thing, not only for others and looking to others, but so I would say someone believed in me, and actually several people have believed in me over the years and encouraged me. And so to try to do that in the same. And so find some other people to believe in and to help light bulbs go on in their mind and what they're learning. And so, that can be, generally it's pretty natural. People will hit it off and figure out that they can be better together. And so just, again, being willing to selflessly share what we know. I think that I'd really like that about our industry as a whole. Mike and I don't know, Jewel, if you were at the International Cyber Arboriculture Conference, but that's actually what that conference is all about. It's sharing what you know with everybody else. We all might be competitors, but the reality is it's really great to get to know each other and share what we know, even across the industry. So I don't know that really answers what I'm looking for in a person. I think we've talked a lot about those soft skills. It really is that open-mindedness and critical thinking skills that pretty much you can go anywhere. You got those two things, you're going to go great places.
Awesome. Thank you. Julie, how about you?
I couldn't agree with Kelly more, pretty much with everything you just said. It's just the willingness to learn and wanting to go as far as you possibly can go in this industry. Mentorship was huge for me because, like I said, I didn't know anything. So having those people and my employees and other even people who started working after me, everyone can come in with their own knowledge from any walk of life in this industry, and they will give you some kind of little nugget of information that will help you kind of move along in any aspect.
For me, the mentorships in this industry or really in industry, any part of this industry is essential. Mm-hmm. No one learns this trade alone. Mentorship is how legacies get passed down. Skills, yes, but it's also about the ethics, the integrity, the client services. I've had mentors who taught me how to lead without barking orders. And now I get to mentor others to help them build careers, not just jobs. Some of the best conversations I've had haven't been about pruning techniques, but it's been during pruning that we've had a chance to talk about the purpose, our families, and what type of people we want to be. Because at the end of the day, we wish for you what you dream for yourself.
Beautiful. And with that, we've reached the end of today's panel. I want to thank all of the panelists for providing such really excellent insight and knowledge into careers in the tree care industry. Thank you, Kelly, Mike, and Julie for joining us. You all have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having us.
you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you all.